Our interview today is with Phil Hayes. Phil is a legend at the Abbey in terms of scoring goals. Scored 95 goals in 134 appearances between 1959 and 1962. Phil, let's start by you telling me about where you were born and when you were born.
I was born in Queen Charlotte's Hospital at Hammersmith, West London, 1935.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously from there we moved from Hammersmith to Chiswick, which is also West London. Then war broke out, obviously, and then my brother and I, in 1942, we got evacuated away from the Blitz into Cumbria, in Constable was in Cumbria. Were there up until about 45 when we come there. Obviously, I went to secondary school from there, and that's when my football really started.
So was there one particular teacher who encouraged you?
There was two teachers actually encouraged me. I always remember going from primary school to secondary school. We had our first football lesson. In the secondary school was with Mr. O'Sullivan and Mr. Dixon. I always remember they had a big influence on my football career actually. And at that time we were practicing, and then in the end he said, "We've got a crowd of players, and you're the only boy who will ever make a professional footballer." He said, "Because you can kick with both feet." At 11 years of age he said that, and that was amazing. And from then on, they also, I played for Heston Isles Schools in them days, represented the side. And from there I played for Middlesex, the county in those days. And also I used to play Sunday football and things like that. And also in 1953, 1950, I was 15, I went to Brentford. I played in Brentford youth side until I went in the army, which is 1953. I went in the army at 18. And I say up till then I played for Brentford youth regularly in Brentford youth, and I signed amateur ball for them when I went in the army. So I lost 2 years really of my football career during the army service. But saying that, while I was in the army, I got stationed after my basic training to Burton in South Wales, and I've had a few games for Burton Corinthians in the World's League. And I always remember playing for against Swansea, the old Vetch Field, the Burton Corinthians. It was amazing, that was, and they were wonderful times. And obviously, 1955 I came out of the army, but while I was in the army, I did parachute training and everything. I was parachute trained. I was in an independent unit.
So this was very much part of your growing up.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us, when you come out of the army, you'd be about 20?
20 when I come out, 1955.
Yes.
Come out in 55, and I went to play for about 6 months Slough Town in the old Corinthian League.
Yeah.
Slough Town. And while I was playing at Slough Town, I always remember it. We were playing at Epsom and New in the league, and there was a Millwall scout was there actually called Dusty Miller. He was a Millwall scout, and he came down and asked the chairman if they could speak to me after the game, and they did that, and they invited me, Neil, and I got a letter from Neil inviting me to a Tuesday morning at their a practice match on a Tuesday morning, believe it or not. Anyway, so I went up to Millwall, had this practice game, and after the practice game, they didn't sign me there and then. But it's an amazing story, this, because that weekend, when they signed me as amateur for Millwall, I played for Millwall reserves at Swindon Town on the Saturday. On the Sunday morning, I played for my Sunday League team. And on the Sunday afternoon, I played for the Sunday League representative team. 3 games that weekend I played.
It must have been fit.
I was shattered like at the end. But anyway, particularly after that, they come to my house in Brentford, we were living there.
Yes.
And anyway, I came to my house and I signed pro for Millwall. That was 1956. I signed pro for Millwall. I got a £10 signing on fee. How about that? £10 signing on fee, £12 a week, £2 for a win and £1 for a draw extra. In the summer, there's to cut our wages by £2. I tell you, amazing. And I tell you what, in them days though, there was no substitutes.
Yeah.
you know, if you got injured, they used to strap you up and stick you back on the field. I remember the goalkeeper got injured once, strapped him up, put him on the wing, and outfield crowd to go and goal. Crazy. They don't know they live today, to be honest.
So your life as a Millwall player must have been pretty spectacular. Locally, you must have been well known.
I always loved my football. No matter who I played for, I just loved to play football. And Mill was the epitomise what I wanted. I wanted to be a professional footballer. Ever since I could, I was a Brentford supporter for years as a kid, living in Brentford. So I really wanted it all my life, you know. And I think actually, when I came out of the Football League, I probably found my good level. Because before that, I was always a striker at school, always to score goals. I was only very slight, very, very slight, and I was getting knocked about, but I used to score goals even at school. I used to love it. But when I went into the Football League, Millwall used to play 5 forwards. I played every forward position in the first team and reserve, utility. They never actually played me in the position I love to play. And I love scoring goals, I did. It's just my life. I think it's instinct than anything. I don't think it's technically, it's just instinct. Because I've bloody told you before. I'm sure I don't know how to score, and the poor old goalkeeper never knew, I'm sure about that.
I guess it helped that you were left side than right side. You said you could play on the left.
I played left, right, centre forward, inside, left, outside, right. I'll tell you what, but then I played centre forward a couple of times at Millwall. In fact, I made my senior debut for Millwall in 1957 against West Ham at Upton Park in the London Challenge Cup final. And we lost 3-1, and I actually, my first senior game, scored our Millwall's goal. We were 1-0 up, and then they come back and beat us 3-1. How about that? Yeah. And then from then on, I just played in the first team and reserves, every forward position, you know.
Fantastic. So tell us now, the bit that obviously we're quite interested in Coconuts is your career. Tell us how that came about.
Well, again, Bert Johnson was manager, 1959, 58, 59, Bert Johnson. He came to the tent to sign Bill Craig, who was the reserve team captain, and I think Bill became a player manager here. Bill Craig became player manager after Bert Johnson, and while he was there, Bill Craig said, sign Phil, sign me on. So Bert Johnson signed me, and at the same time he also signed Gordon Quinn from Queen's Park Rangers. And I remember us coming here with Bert Johnson, taking us round the town and showing us the town. Now there's the interesting part. Disaster the first 2 games I had, because I made my debut because Bill Craig and Gordon Quinn couldn't play because they were moving home. So my first 2 games went to Weymouth, and we lost 7-0. I was playing on the wing. They still put me on the wing still. The following Wednesday.
So you did, right? It was on the 11th of April 1959.
That's it. Then King's Lynn, on the following Wednesday we lost 5-0. Absolutely. I couldn't believe it. And then the following week we went to play in the East Anglian Cup final, first leg, against Wisby. Jesse Pye, I remember that. But I said to the manager, get me have a go at centre forward. And I got 4 goals. It was amazing, really. And from then on, it just took off.
So you settled in Cambridge, you enjoyed Cambridge?
I actually moved here for a while because I moved in Pi Telecom. I worked at Pi Telecom on the Newmarket Road.
I didn't know that. I thought you'd stayed in London your whole time.
For the first little while, I stayed in London because I was courting my wife as well. Then I moved here for a while and I worked at Pi Telecom, and it was really good, all the time training. But commuting back and forth to my wife weekends, who I was courting then, because I married her when I was playing for Cambridge United. Boxing Day 19, I don't know, we were married 54 years anyway. She passed away last year. And I stayed with some lovely people.
Phil, can you tell me a little bit about the ground at that time? Tell me what you remember of the ground.
The ground, I remember coming out of the corner here, running out with the old tally-ho music, Bill Craig leading to the south on the pitch. There was no stand at that far end, no stand there, because it was just virtually open, wasn't it, land years ago. And this stand wasn't here, it was just a load, you know. But the support was, I used to love the support of the people here. I think they've always had a tremendous support at Cambridge United. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time, but the reason I think one of the reasons I had to leave, because of commuting in here and backwards and
Yeah.
forwards, I think Alan Moore wanted to move to full time.
Okay.
He went to become full time at that time, and I couldn't take that because I was living in Brentford then as well, you know. And then I married my wife, and then so I moved to usually they were called Hillingdon Borough now, where Jackie Milburn was playing manager.
Was the Habbing stand there? The Habbing stand, was that there?
That was there. That was still there. Well, that end wasn't there.
No.
No, it was open, and then this was just a bit of terracing along it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Terracing.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. It was just a lovely club here they were.
Let's think of some of the players you played with, Phil.
Well,
I can name some names.
there was Roy Kirk, captain, and Sam McGrory, and Fred Howells, Smithy, Peter Rapley. We had, in fact, I showed somebody a photograph in there today of the 60s team, and he said that was the best team he ever had here. He said, amazing. And Cambridge has always been a wonderful place to me. Really been a lovely and very good to me and for me, you know,
Can I mention a couple of names and see if you remember them? Bill Craig, you mentioned.
Bill Craig.
Brian Moore.
Brian, because Brian was just before me, because he went to Cambridge City after that, Brian, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Brian, he went to Cambridge City eventually.
Jimmy Gibson, you mentioned.
Yeah, Jimmy Gibson, good player, Jimmy. Yeah.
Peter Rapley.
Peter Rapley.
We spoke to Peter only last week, and he said, make sure that you remembered him.
There's some lovely guys, you know.
And of course, Andy Smith, the goalkeeper.
Andy, because I told you I came to their benefit.
Yes.
Fred Howells, when he played the international manager. I told you the programme.
Yeah, we'll work our way through towards that one. Yeah, we will work towards that, which is fantastic. Which is great. Okay, first two games, as we say, didn't go very well.
Not very well at all.
5-0. But your very next game, you won the Cambridgeshire Cup final.
You know, and from then on we took off really.
Yeah.
From that time onwards.
Okay, I was going to say Bill Craig. What was Bill Craig like as a manager?
Bill was wholehearted, absolutely wholehearted. Put everything he had into his football. He did. But perhaps lacked a little bit of knowledge because he was actually more of a player rather than a manager. But he had his enthusiasm, without doubt, Bill Craig. I've never, because I was at Millwall with him for a year and a half, you know.
Yeah, because we know that Bill was followed by Alan Moore after only like 16 games or something.
Yeah, Alan did come back. Alan played as well for a while, then he stepped down a bit, and that's when he wanted to take over and go to full time, I think, after that.
But so let's think about your first season here in Cambridge, 1959 to 1960. A very good season for you, as far as I can see. You partnered Brian Moore.
Brian, for a while.
Yes.
But in the end, because Brian then obviously left and went to Cambridge City, I think.
Yes, that's what you said.
And then I think we had I can't remember so many of the good players that come along. And I also quite remember the old FA Cup games as well with City.
Do you remember those games? Do you remember big crowds?
I'll tell you, well, absolutely amazing. 1960 that was, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
We played the third qualifying round of the FA Cup. Third qualifying round. We drew here. 1-1, I think it was. I was very fortunate because the goal scoring record of FA Cups, because you know there's no penalties in that, it's always replays. So if you scored in every one, you had 3 replays, there's 3 FA Cup goals, wasn't it? Which happened. Anyway, we drew here. Then we went to Milton Road in the midweek and we drew again. And after the game, we had to toss a coin to see what ground we played on. The manager had to sit and toss the coin. Amazing, really. And Milton Road, we had to go and play the third game. Then we won 2-1. I think I scored and who was the other one? I think it was Sam McGrory got the other one. I'm not sure. I think so. We won 2-1. But total support on those 3 games, 21,000 plus people. Now that is absolutely amazing. You know, 3 games against each other within 2 weeks. 17, that's amazing, don't you think? And that's what the support Cambridge is like, even in the old days, you know, wonderful.
Okay, so 1959-60, as we said, was a good season for you. You were the second top scorer in the league, 29 goals in 42 games. The next season actually got a little bit better because you played with Brian Bastard.
But again, and that's another amazing thing. And again, like Burton Albion today. I remember us they were playing Burton Albion here. We beat them 2-0. Brian basically got 1 and I scored 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And you finished second in the league.
Yes, we
that
did.
year.
Had quite a bit of success in them
Well,
days.
that got you guys promoted to the Premier League, didn't it?
Absolutely.
That must have been good.
Yeah, amazing, really. We had a wonderful camaraderie.
Yeah.
Of all the players, a lovely camaraderie with those players. Nobody was better than anybody else. We all mucked in and got on with the job, you know what I mean?
Let's make sure everyone knows what we're talking about here, because the previous season, I was saying, was pretty good with 29 goals in 42 games. But in the season 60-61, you got 34 goals in 36 games.
Yeah, but I had some good players around me.
That's very modest.
Yeah, very modest.
Yeah. Had some good players without them though. Obviously football's a team game, somebody has to put the ball in the net, and I was very lucky to actually be there to do it. I never knew how half the time. I never knew, and I'm sure the poor old goalkeeper never knew either, honestly. And I think it's not about being a great player, I think it's just a bit of instinct, half of it really. It's instinct.
Yes, yeah, well, good strikers like that.
Yeah, it's instinct, because you don't, half the time you don't know how they got in the... Amazing,
So,
really.
do you think, I mean, you're the first person who can ask this, do you think that is something you're born with, or can you develop it?
I think you can develop technique and skill. I think you can develop that. But there's a wonderful old saying. People keep saying practice makes perfect. It doesn't. Practice makes permanent.
That's good.
Practice makes permanent, not perfect. Because perfection, never get that.
Brilliant. Okay, one more season then, 61-62, and by our history, you moved to inside left to let Jimmy Gibson.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Jimmy. Was he a big bloke?
Big strong lad, Jimmy. Different to me. I was a skinny little thing, like a stick of licorice I was. And he was a strong, Jimmy, strong, powerful lad, you know? And I tell him, mate, he's a good player. Class, I mean, I wasn't class, not being funny. I was enthusiastic. I used to love score goals. Technically, I wasn't as good as most of the other players, but in a team, you've got somebody put the ball in the net, and that's what I did for the team.
Well, I've got to tell you, there are people that we've spoken to who would say you were class. You were class in your
Maybe, I don't see myself like that. I was all action. I used to work hard. I used to love the game of football. Even in the dressing rooms, I wouldn't sit down at half time. I was sitting there, I wouldn't sit down, I couldn't.
All energy. Okay, following that season, following the 61-62 season, you left Cambridge. You decided to leave Cambridge. It was your decision that you wanted to move. What were the reasons for moving?
When the travelling, for example, I was talking to my wife backwards and forwards, and that was, I would have loved to stay to Cambridge. If I'd have been married then, and I would have moved to Cambridge, but I'm not sure going into full-time football would have suited me. I'm not too sure. Probably I should have given it a try, but I'd already tried it once, you know, with Millwall, full-time football, and I got used to being a part-time player, working as well, and financially it was very, very good as well with the job. And you have to look at them when you're getting married. You have to think things like that. And then, of course, I was living in London as well at the time, so Hillingdon Borough, they were called Usley, was the place I went, because Jackie Milburn was player manager there.
Yes, yeah.
War Jackie, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, what I learnt at Cambridge, the goal scoring just went on. Wherever I went, I was very lucky, really.
How did you find Roy Kirk?
Sorry?
How did you find Roy Kirk?
Roy was a very solid man. Never solid, never seemed to say a lot. He was just a solid centre back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, all that team, we had a great camaraderie, you know, really, the team. There's nobody better than anybody else. It was, you know, really nice.
And
We had a lovely comment on Roy Kirk. It was from Johnny Has. In fact, he played a little bit after you. He said, Roy was more of a fighter.
Yeah, he was a lovely man, because he played for Coventry as well, didn't he? Roy and things like that.
And Sam McGrory, was he? Am I right in saying he was an international?
Irish international. In fact, Sam, actually, when Ireland beat England at Wembley 3-2, I think Sam McGrory got one of the goals.
Blimey,
We will check that.
Yeah, Sam McGrory.
We will check that because that's really important in the history.
Sam, I remember going. I remember we playing at Hinckley, and it's the only time I think I remember one of our players getting sent off. We played Hinckley at Hinckley, and Sam got sent off. And I'm not bragging again, but we won 3-2, and I got hat-trick. With Sam, with 10 men we did, like today, you know.
So when we're moving towards the tail end of your career now, when did injury finish your career, or did you just...
What, football? No, I carried on forever. I went from Hillingdon Borough, where I got all the bloody goals. I can't remember, loads of goals. I went to Ramsgate from then. I went to Ramsgate, they were in the Southern League in them days. At Ramsgate first, when I was leading scorer there again as well. Then I went to Folkestone for the last half of the season, and I was 31 then. And then Tommy Bickerstaff was manager or chairman or secretary at Ramsgate.
Yes.
And he moved to take over Cambridge City.
In May 1968, yes, you're bang on. Yep. Yeah. And he asked you...
And he saw me, he took a few other players from Stevenage, and he took me, because I was now living in Letchworth, because I'd moved on the London Overspill, and I was working at American Rolling Mill Company in Letchworth, and playing football for Ramsgate as well, that thrashing. And when that happened, I tell you, I've been around and But when, after that, I moved to... He signed me on, I was 31 then, 32, and people thought, oh, sign him on. But it worked out ever so well. The second season, I got the Player of the Year and leading goal scorer again.
Yeah. Phil, only you could live in London, play in Cambridge, then move closer to Cambridge and play in Ramsgate.
I know, I've been around, honestly. But in the meantime, I've had a young family growing up. I had a young family, I got married while I was at Cambridge. On Boxing Day, I didn't play that Boxing Day, and I always remember, I don't know who it was, but I knew it was 0-0, and I was so glad we didn't lose. And I was so glad we didn't score, because I wasn't there.
Did Rodney Slack play for United at the same time?
Rodney Slack was playing... I played against Rodney Slack, but Smithy was in goal when I was here.
Yeah.
Slacky came after, didn't he? Because I remember... I was very fortunate to actually score goals against Cambridge City for United and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I remember putting one past Slacky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll remind him of that when we see him. Okay, two last questions.
I must say though, Cambridge has been wonderful for me.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful for me, open doors for me, because being a goal scorer, they opened doors because they allowed me to do it here. And all the way through now I was able to do that. I don't know how, but it was one of those things that just happens.
There are not many players who have actually crossed the divide in Cambridge and played for both United and City. So tell us about your City days. You obviously enjoyed it because you scored 52 goals in 2 seasons. Well, so I was old as well then.
As I said to you, I think the reason I was very contented because I was actually living in Letchworth when I was playing for Cambridge City. So the travelling wasn't that bad, and I used to be able to go there training. Because first of all, when I was at Cambridge United, my training, I used to have to train at Brentford football ground on a Tuesday and Thursday evening, and that's what happened in them days.
What difference did you notice much different between the United and the City?
Just the road. I think they were. Tell me, they're both go-ahead clubs. Sadly, City have fallen on. But in the old days, City were the number one of the teams, you know.
Yes,
and when we actually beat them, Cambridge United beat them in the FA Cup. It's the most wonderful thing. And I remember going to work the next day at Telecom, all the, you know. And I'll tell you what, we used to talk football all the time.
We knew that.
I'll tell you what, Cambridge has been really good for me in my career. It helped me on. Coming from Millwall, I was a bit of a downer at Millwall. I'd had an injury or so. I had quite a few first team games, but all over the place, go over the forward line. And up until then, even at school, I'd been an out and out striker. Because I was so slight and slim, and they wouldn't play you. You had to be a big, strong, bustling player in them days, but it didn't. As long as you were mobile and agile and could move, then that's what it was, you know.
Everybody who's played at Millwall and the old Den, they say it's a funny old place to play at if you're an opposition player.
Yeah, tell me about the Den and the home players if you missed a goal.
Yeah, what sort of things did you get shouted at you there?
Oh God, blimey! I tell you, as I just said to you, Cambridge has been good for me. In fact, coming back here, you know, my friend Peter, lovely bloke, he took me last year. We went to Millwall last bank holiday, on the pitch before the game, food and everything, only through him, and he's bought because my wife passed away last year, sadly after 54 years, and the old life was getting a bit. And he's actually bought my heart. And it's as you get older, it's nice for people to recognise and say, hello Phil, well, nice to see you, well done, oh you were a good player. Because I said to you before, there's an old saying, it's better to be a has-been than a never was.
Let's just finish up just with a couple of things. You came back for a testimonial game. Andy Smith and Fred Howell. Now there were some players played in that game.
Oh, I've got the list here. You've got Ted Ditchburn, England.
And
then we had
Neil Franklin.
Neil Franklin, England, centre. Jimmy Hagan. Jimmy Hill. Wally Barnes.
Pat Sayward.
Oh, Pat Sayward. Pat was here, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I came back here and not being funny, as though I'd never been away. I remember here, I get the third goal, a header, and there's the old crowd behind there. And the first two goals down there, I remember Ted Ditchburn trying to cut one out, and I beat him to it, nicked it in the net. And then up here, the third goal, oh God, that old crowd behind the goal, they give me such a welcome.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd never left. You know.
So you've enjoyed your day back at Cambridge?
Oh!
Yeah, good day
Do you know what? It's been brilliant today. I said, what about when they played Crawley here about 4 years ago? I came up and they had me on the pitch, and the crowd, when they listened, they were quiet and listened, and then the applause, and I felt so good, the crowd. And I drew the raffle as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But Cambridge, it's been marvellous. I keep on about it. It's been marvellous to me. Really, and thank you for allowing me to do this.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
I'm going to tell you just as I wind up now, because we've not asked you half the things we could ask you, but we've got to keep our videos to about half an hour or so. But let me just tell you, you won't be forgotten here, because anyone who could play 134 games for us and score 95 goals is close to a legend.
Pretty blooming good, yeah.
And we're going to say thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Honestly, you've made my life. You've made my day, pals.
Thank you very much.
You've made my day.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Let's go and get